Okay, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon and good evening in the 5 continents of the world. Today is the 9th of October, 2022, and today is our 85th roundtable international meeting, and we have 4 good friends and 4 professionals from Mexico. Okay, thank you everyone for being here, and let me share my screen as usual. Give me a few seconds, please. Okay, here it is. It takes some seconds. Okay, as I said before, it is our 85th International English Online meeting. Today is the October the 9th, 2022. Okay, there is a problem with the laptop as usual. Yes, frozen. Okay. Oops, you see, it always happens. Let me go back to it. Don't panic.
No.
Well, I am in panic.
No, don't worry.
Do not panic. It happens to the best speakers. Don't worry.
Thank you so much, Marco Antonio. It's beautiful to hear that. I don't know, but something always happens. Okay, here it is. Okay, back with the PPT presentation. Okay. Okay, let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Araceli, would you be willing, please, to read the first quote and say something?
Education is the movement from darkness to light. Alan Bloom? Well, okay, yeah, well, I don't know if I agree completely, because there are many ways we can grow and we can educate ourselves. But yes, of course, education is one of the ways to go into light. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Marco Antonio, could you give us a hand, please?
Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Well, I think the reflection is, as human beings, we always want to say we are very intelligent or we feel intelligent, but if we are not educated, perhaps we will not be able to understand the meaning of that concept.
Right, right.
So,
okay, thank you so much, Marco. Now let me admit some people. Okay, so who is presenting soon? Let me see. Debra Suarez from the United States. She will be present with us on Sunday, October the 16th. That is next Sunday. And also Lorena Ojeda from Argentina. She will be with us on October the 23rd. And then on Sunday, the 30th of October, we'll have Eugenia Carrion, Marina Suraz, Marina Gonzalez, Claudio Yuin, Maria del Valle Yuri from Argentina. And later, we'll have Monica Rodriguez Salvo from Argentina on Sunday, November the 6th. And finally, I guess it will be the last roundtable and the last international meeting this year. On Sunday, December the 18th, 1 week before Christmas, we'll have the roundtable encouraging professional development in Latin America with Katie Ramirez, Eugenia Carrion, Soledad Calle, Arturo Phil, Celia Sanchez, and Tito Hidalgo. So if you want to watch all the previous videos, you can watch them in the YouTube channel we have. Okay, who is presenting today? Araceli Salas, Gabriela Ladrón de Guevara, Marco Parisio, and Gabriela Osornio. Let me say a few words about these 4 professionals, okay? Gabriela Ladrón de Guevara, English teacher, teacher trainer, and in-service tutor, writer and storyteller, professor and researcher at Universidad Autónoma de la Ciudad de México, BA in teaching French, foreign language, BA in English, and BA in teaching English, MA in education, Universidad del Valle de México, PhD in Education, Universidad Marista de Guadalajara. Araceli Salas, the next one, our next guest speaker. Sorry, here it is. Araceli Salas has a PhD in language science and MA in TESOL. She's a professor and researcher at Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. She's the editor-in-chief of Lenguaen Contexto and associate editor of the MEXTESOL Journal Lenguaen Contexto, sorry. Gabriela Osornio, excuse me, holds a master's degree in TEFL from the University of Guadalajara. She is an ELT professional with 20 years experience in teaching, teacher training, and research. She's currently facilitating research activities at University of Guanajuato and teaching English at University of the Incarnate, Bajio, and ITESI. And last but not least, the only man today in this round table from Mexico, Marco Antonio Parisio Fernandez, holds a master's degree in applied linguistics from Universidad de las Américas, Puebla. Presently, he is a full-time teacher as well as academic coordinator in the BA program in English language, teaching at the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. He has been an English teacher for more than 35 years. During the last 23 years, he has taught courses at BA and master's degree levels in the areas of linguistic, language teaching methodology, translation, research methodology, and thesis writing in different institutions. So thank you so much, my dear friends from Mexico. Thank you for your time and the expertise that you are going to share with us this morning. So let me start with the first question. And the first question is, let me show it to you. How would you describe the the reality of the teaching learning process in Mexico at all levels in Mexico this century? So who wants to start? Araceli, Marco, Gabi, or Gabriela? We can hear you.
I can start.
Okay, thank you, Araceli.
Yes, well, being next to the United States, people think that Mexico has a good level of English in all educational levels, but that's not true. Even when we are a lot of people, a lot of Mexicans here, only less than 5% have a good command of English. That is the reality. So, but there are many factors in that. Of course, the geography. There are many communities apart where there are no teachers. And of course, much has to be done. That is a reality. We do not have a good level of English in any of the educational levels.
Okay, thank you so much. Next one, who wants to be the second one? Marco Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Of course, Marco.
Okay. As Araceli has just said, low rates of learning English, as it says here, low rates of learning English are observed at all educational levels, from kindergarten to university levels, right? It says here since primary school, but it is also, I would say, kindergarten, because some schools are now apparently offering that language to the students. Let me, I want to share another
PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see it now.
Well, it says here, in Mexico, teaching English became mandatory at the primary school level in 2009. At the secondary level, it became mandatory in the 1930s. At present, the purpose is that the students finish the third year of secondary school with a BA level of English, according to the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. However, in the year 2015, the organization called Mexicanos Primero stated that only 3% of the students finished secondary school with a B1 level of English, and 79% of students have no knowledge of English when they finish secondary school. I think that is information according to what Araceli said. Less than 5% of people who have gone through the educational system in Mexico have obtained an appropriate or good level of English, as we call it, right? Although these are data from the year 2015, the situation in Mexico has not changed much. I mean, these data, the data I have just read, but the situation has not changed much. It says here that one important reason for the occurrence of this situation is the great variety of educational contexts around Mexico, from both urban and rural contexts. Why? In urban context, for example, there is a great variety of schools, from private to official government schools. In rural context, perhaps 100% of the education is provided by official government schools. And it is important to consider this because most private schools are regularly trying to improve the quality of their educational services, while official government schools depend a lot on economic and political decisions from the government, something which especially affects the rural schools. Okay, how can I change this? Okay. So, because of this situation, we can say that emphasis is required on the professionalization of teachers, as it is important and essential in the teaching and learning process. This is something that apparently we are already doing in the universities. We still have to, but we still have to do probably a lot more. Perhaps first we have to conduct research to identify what kind of teachers the ones that have graduated from universities are. I mean, how they are working, how they are doing their teaching job, and what else they need. In the authors of this article, Ramirez et al., proposed to, in relation to that situation, proposed to develop fields of research to solve the problem. Fields of research such as curriculum policies, management, learning processes, innovation, and not leave any aside because they are mutually determined. On the other hand, Paul Davis, in this case, a very well-known researcher in Mexico, claims that some ELT in Mexico produces substantial learning of English and contributes to the percentage of adult Mexicans, perhaps around 12%, who can communicate in English. But he also says that most ELT in Mexico, perhaps over 85%, fails to produce much or any substantial learning of English. And I would like to show you some information that I think is interesting from what he comments. Let me give me a minute, please.
Okay, don't worry, take your time.
Yeah. he says, he in his article, he mentions, in short, he is commenting on what he has just said before. Over 50 years after English became a curricular subject in lower and upper secondary schools, over 30 years after most universities established something on the lines of a common core English program, and over 10 years after the launch of PRONI, which is the National English program that starts curricular English courses in last years of preschool, most ELT in Mexico seems to be failing badly. This is the comment that many professionals in this area share. That's all for the moment.
Thank you, Marco. Now, Gabriela.
Marco has shared some research and some author's idea, academic idea about the situation of English in Mexico. Let me share what I think from my own situation and context, my own experience. Well, English in the level where I'm working in higher studies education. I'm a university, public university. When I started working there 15 years ago, it was like, even though it was part of the curriculum, it was a subject that was not recognized by authorities. What happened? The teachers in my institution started to work hard to put English as an important subject. So professors of any kind of subject started to look at English teachers and we started to be considered not only English teachers, but also professors, university professors, researchers. And we start working in our university towards having that recognition. It was not easy because let me tell you that in general, teaching English is not well recognized among the academic world. In the faculty is not well recognized, even though it is part of the curriculum and it's compulsory. But we started to change that that vision, and now it is very common to look at the professors, English professors, we are teaching not only a language, but also we are part of academic life. And another important thing, in my university, we are not forming English teachers. So our situation is different. We are just part of the curriculum, but we are not forming the professionals. That is a huge difference that we have with other members of the faculty. For example, in terms of nutrition, law, history, etc., that they are forming students towards that. And talking about basic education, well, unfortunately, that value that the English teacher has is a part of the value society is giving to learning a language, learning a foreign language. They have mentioned that, well, we are close to the United States. It is supposed that we have a huge command of English. Well, we know that we don't as a country. And English is like, okay, something that you have to pass in order to get your papers and graduate. So unfortunately, that is exactly the same value that they are given, that society is giving to English teachers and language teachers in general. So we are not working under the best conditions, but something very important, we as professionals of teaching, we are working in our institutions, we are working to change that. And we are working in our classrooms to create better environments, to teach, to learn, and to change that perception, that social perception. I think that is the most important evolution in learning and teaching English that I have seen during this period of time. Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you, dear Gabriela. And finally, Gabi Osornio.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you everyone for devoting your Sunday to us and listening to what we have to say. I would like to add up a little bit to everything that has been said. We we have many realities in Mexico. We cannot talk about just one reality. It's a huge country. We have very different realities according to the very different levels and the region where we live. So there are many needs in these different realities. I'm going to just add up a little bit to what Araceli, Gabriela, and Marco have said, talking about the mindset that we have. I think that problems are evident. They have already talked about problems. So what we need, in my opinion, is a change of mindset in four very important aspects. The first one is teachers. As teachers, we need to value our work. We need to make ourselves proud, to be proud of what we do, so that others can value our work as well. As Gabriela mentions, recognition is very limited to our profession. So I think we should start by valuing ourselves as English teachers, by getting ready in this process, truly prepared, so that they can be, so we can be validated as well. That will be the first mindset. Then also, as you mentioned, we are very close to the US. That means many native speakers are here teaching. However, sometimes they don't, they are not really prepared on the methodology, on the pedagogy. So I think that we do not oppose, we as non-native teachers do not oppose to this, because we know that they have also amazing tools to provide to our students. I think that here what we need to change, or this mindset that needs to be changed, is that native speakers are not the ideal. If they come here and they teach, then they are welcome, but they need to be prepared as well for the teaching process, not just speaking or taking it lightly. Yes, and many native speakers are not doing that. We do our best as non-native to prepare ourselves, but I think it should be on both sides. Then students' mindset, they still see it. Some of our students see it as, I don't need it because I'm going to be here in Mexico. I had some law students that used to think that, oh, but I'm going to be doing my work here in Mexico. I don't need English, right? So that mindset that they don't need it is needs to go, like now. Also that they see it as a communication tool. We are not anywhere near where we would like to be communicating in English, because students are still thinking that it is not as necessary as it should. And finally, as also you guys mentioned, in the admin department, we need to be recognized. They need to change this idea that we can do any extracurricular activity in the time that they have English classes, because those are not important, right? Or that we do not give this, how can we call it, basification to teachers. We do not give any benefits to English teachers, because they are just English teachers, right? So there are many issues in the teaching learning process that are not just inside the classroom, but that impact these classrooms. Yeah, so for me, it will be that. It will be changing mindsets, what we need in order for us to actually take advantage of English language teaching. Thank you. That will be.
Thank you, dear Gabi. Thank you, Gabi, Gabriela, Araceli, and Marco, for the very important pieces of information about Mexico reality. And I have two comments or two questions. The first one is, Gabriela, Araceli, you said that we think that you have the privilege of being so close to the United States, right? My question is, do students feel motivated 100%, 90%, 60% to learn English? Because you are not only close to the United States, but also close to Canada. You are, I would say that you have that privilege. I don't know, Gabriela, Gabi, Marco, Araceli,
No.
what is your answer?
No. Students don't see it. And sadly, sometimes students want to learn English just to go and work in the United States and sometimes go as immigrants. Yes, that is their motivation, not for other purposes. And also, well, here in Mexico, you know that we have more than 60 native languages. So sometimes English is the third or the fourth language for them. So yes, no, they are not motivated. They don't like it. And there are many ideas going on around learning English. It's not a motivation.
Okay. And I have a second question. Here in Peru, public school students, they start to learn English in high school, in secondary school. Meanwhile, in the private schools, they start in kindergarten. Okay, so is that the same situation in Mexico? Anybody?
Yes, it's pretty similar. Although we have PRONI, that is the National English Program, not all schools, for federal schools or for government institutions, this is not in every school. So not all of our public school students have access to learning English at the primary level. And in private institutions, yes, they usually have English from 3 to 4 hours per week, from kindergarten to higher education.
Yes, that's true. And here in Peru, we have some private institutions, they teach English to babies when they are just 1 year old. I cannot believe it. There is a comment in Facebook Live by David White. He's an Australian professor, but he lives in Peru, a very good friend of ours. He says, I'm a native speaker with my own institute, but I only employ Latino teachers with a C1 or C2 level, as they are generally superior. So I'm going to contact David if I need some extra work. Thank you, David. Okay, let's continue and go to the second question. And the second question is, what are the principal challenges of the Mexican teachers to become professionals? So this time we are going to start with my dear friend Marco. It's your turn, dear Marco.
Yes, thank you. Just a second. Well, there are many challenges, perhaps, right? But two of them, I believe, are the discrimination of the population, that the population exerts on language teachers, and the job insecurity for language teachers. Why discrimination? Just a second. Oh my God, what's happening? Well, according to Garcia and his colleagues, research has shown the prevalence of discrimination as a phenomenon that has significantly impacted the field of teaching English to speakers of other languages. It still exists and continues to affect non-native English-speaking professionals. How can we observe that discrimination, that phenomenon? Parents believe that native English-speaking teachers are better at teaching the language than non-native English-speaking teachers. In Mexico, the number of non-native English-speaking teachers has increased due to the high demand for English teachers for state and private schools. However, many employers try to look for native English speakers to hire them as teachers. Still, that is still happening. It is not only the non-native language status of teachers that initiates discrimination practices, but also how they pronounce the language. So this, I have an idea, this is a personal comment, but I have the idea that this kind of discrimination somehow started in the last century, but probably at in the 1950s or before, when English courses were implemented in secondary school and high school, and little by little, probably people from England and the United States realized that English was arousing as a lingua franca around the world. In the last century, many people from England came, also from the United States, but probably it was more people from England who came. And at that time, probably 50 years ago, and 60 and 70 years ago, there were no professional programs for preparing English language teachers. So it was English speakers, the native English speakers, who were hired probably mainly to teach the language. And probably it was at that time when the idea started, the idea that the native English speaker is the best teacher. Why? Because he speaks the language perfectly, right? Non-native English speaker, Mexican, was not able to speak English as perfectly as native English speakers did, right? So probably the situation started at that time. And although at present, we have in Mexico many programs preparing English language teachers in different universities around Mexico, we still have those ideas that the native English speaker is the best teacher, and employers hire them, prefer them to teach English even when they do not have the necessary academic credentials, right? I would like to show you some information from this article. Can you see the page? Yes.
Yes, we can.
This is a diagram. This is a diagram where the authors show some information about the discrimination of English language teachers in Mexico. It is interesting to me. It was interesting to me to observe that, of course, there may be many different factors, many different reasons for this phenomenon, the phenomenon of discrimination to happen. For example, here on the right, we have inexperience. Some people do not like having a male teacher. Some other people do not like having a female teachers, perhaps. I mean, people may have sexual preferences regarding their teachers, etc. There may be a lot of different reasons why English teachers may be discriminated. But what called my attention was to observe that these factors I have highlighted here, the teacher's native language status, the teacher's physical appearance, because most Mexican people, or at least a lot of Mexican people, have a dark color of skin, right? And this other factor regarding language certificates over degrees in language teaching, under pronunciation. All these factors have the highest percentage of preference, we can say, to discriminate English language teachers, right? All of the other factors have a low percentage. So that is still a problem here in our Spanish-speaking society who want to learn English. That's it.
Well, thank you so much, dear Marco, for such a wonderful data about the preferences and the status, and we will talk about that after everyone speaks. Okay, next, my dear Gabriela Ladrón, back to you.
Yes, well, one of the main problems we have in general in education is that in Mexico, education and teachers and all people working in this field, well, we are not well recognized. It is not like saying, I'm a professor, I'm a teacher, and we have social recognition. No, normally it's, oh, but you have just good brains. Why are you teaching? You must be an engineer, a lawyer, an accountant. So that is one big problem that we are facing, social recognition. And well, restarting with that idea, if we are not well recognized, of course, we cannot create a good developmental program because conditions, as Gabriela mentioned, are not very positive for teachers. We have 2-3 jobs in order to get enough hours a week. Because, for example, Carlos Camacho is asking, how many hours do you have in public school? English teaching, I assume, 3 hours a week. And also in my university, 3 hours a week. So imagine the number of groups we have to cover in order to get a 40-hour week. And Arturo Phil is asking, do you have the necessary number of teachers of English in Mexico to start teaching English from primary level? Maybe we have the numbers, but are they qualified? Are they eager to work in rural areas? Are they eager to work within underpaid jobs? Because, for example, you were talking about private schools and public schools. Imagine in a private school, they are earning $2 per hour, kindergarten teachers teaching English. Yeah. So imagine that. So it is very, very difficult. And well, Arturo Fields is saying, as teachers of English, how many hours a year do we devote to our improvement of the language? Well, it depends on the teacher. Imagine if you are making $2 per hour. So how many hours do you need to work in order to get something, a decent salary? And after that, are you going to pay for extra development? Only free programs. And if we consider that normally those developmental programs are very expensive and they need a lot of time to be devoted to them, well, that's a problem. Imagine if you have 2 kids and you are making 2 hours, $32 per hour, and you have a family. Very difficult, right? Yes. So that's why there we have teachers that are working more than 50 or 60 hours per week. Can you imagine the burnout level they are facing?
Definitely.
So, yes, I think that it's one of the problems to be professionals or to continue professionalizing English teachers, at least in Mexico, and maybe in some of your Latin American countries. And if we add being a woman on top of that, oh my God, you have a family, you have to take care of your family. If you are a single mother and your income is the only income that arrives to your household, well, that's a challenge. Even though we're here and we continue our developmental processes and we continue learning, and well, we are part of this professionalization of English teachers. But yes, it is not easy.
Yeah. Thank you so much, dear Gabriela Ladrón. Now back to you, Gabi, with the second question.
Okay, well, there are many challenges to take into account here. First, we are not, as you mentioned, we're not recognized as professionals. We don't have great tools, you know, to do our job. And I think all of these that both Marco and Gabriela have mentioned can be narrowed down to professional development. I would say that will be the key, you know, to become a better, more professional teacher. However, professional development is also up to us. Not many institutions can or are willing to provide English teachers with resources for professional development. So that is another challenge, adding up, like Gabriela mentioned, to the time and the money that we don't have, right? So there are free opportunities for professional development, such as this one. However, there are more, let's say, more constraints to getting professionally developed, because most of us need specific areas to be developed. For example, I don't know, maybe some of us need to improve our pronunciation, or some of us need a degree, or some of us need a certification. Those are not for free. And English teachers usually do not have the support from their institutions or the time or the money to deal with that. So I think one of the principal challenges will be that professional development and the little access that we have to it, or the little support that we have for it.
Thank you, Gabi. And now finally for this second question answer,
Yes.
dear Araceli Salas.
Yes, I agree with my, let me just check. Yes, it's open. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues that we suffer discrimination, and we suffer discrimination from many sources, from peers who say, you're the English teacher, from employers. Yeah, but it's not part of the big curriculum. We suffer discrimination from not native speakers, but from employers giving them preference. Also, lack of opportunities. Lack of opportunities is, and I would say, lack of equal opportunities. Not everybody can have access. Even when in our law, they say that in our laws, they say that Mexicans have the same opportunities all around the country. We know it's not true. People do not have access to free education. How many people are left out of public universities? And that is also sad. Sad to know that not everybody will have access to education, to free education, and as Gabi was saying, English is expensive in Mexico. It's very expensive. Yes, going to an institute, it's really expensive, so not many people can afford it. Also, Marco, my colleague Marco, and I work at a university where we teach, or where we prepare English teachers. And what I have seen lately is that, exactly as you were saying, they are not motivated to become English teachers. It's been a trend recently that students go and work in these call centers because they speak the language, and they are offered better conditions, better work conditions than being English teachers. They prefer to work in these places, in these companies, as in a call center, and they attend telephone calls. Yes, so yeah, motivation, they are not motivated. They say, why are we working so hard? Why are we studying so many years if we are not going to get a decent income for our families? So I think those are the challenges. Of course, professionalization, professional development, growth depends on the teacher, but how is a teacher going to have the energy if they are all exhausted at the end of the day? Yeah, I agree. We have many challenges.
Yes, yes, dear Gabriela, Gaby, Araceli, and Marco Antonio. Now, this is the time for people who are here with us in the Zoom meeting to make a small comment, brief comment, or a question. You have mentioned many important things, and I feel, I don't know how to say or what to say, but you have mentioned discrimination, job insecurity, native teachers speak perfect English, the status, the physical appearance is important. Oh my God. So I'm looking at myself and I say, oops, social recognition, lack of opportunities, and one of the biggest problems, procrastination. Okay, all of these things and many others, I guess that we professors in Latin America suffer. So anybody, hello, Roxy, nice to see you after so many years. Thank you so much for being here. First, I would like to ask the president of our association to give us a point of view. Raj, we are all ears. Dear Raj, a comment or a question?
Well, there's so many questions, and one of the questions when I hear what the teachers are getting paid, my goodness, how can anybody sustain their lifestyle on that kind of salary? And how can they be motivated to become better? So that's something that would be really interesting to look at, is how can they be compensated or paid well for this? The second question I have is, why do they hire non-native speaking teachers? Is that a preference? That's my question.
Thank you so much, dear president. Okay, anybody, Gabriela, Araceli, Gaby, or Marco?
Well, can I say something?
Please do.
In relation to the first question, I understood the question is, how can language teachers get motivated with that low salary? Well, I would like to tell you something about my personal experience, right? When I studied the master's degree, I did it because it was necessary for me at that time. Otherwise, I would be losing. At that time, I would be losing opportunities to have a better life, right? So I had to look for a program at a university where I could study a master's degree, but where the fees that I had to pay would not be so high. So I started looking here in Puebla, several universities. I went to UNAM, the National University in Mexico City, to see if it would be possible to study there. And there was already the master's degree program at Universidad de las Américas here in Puebla, but I said, how can I dream of studying there if this is the most expensive school, right? The most expensive university. Well, I found no possibilities to study anywhere else. And some programs, for example, in some universities, I didn't like them. So it was necessary for me to study, to see if or how I could study the program here at the Universidad de las Américas, being the most expensive university. Well, it was possible because I had to implement several strategies, right? But something that I am sure that most teachers have to do is what I was doing at that time. I had to work one semester. I observed that I was working between 50 and 55 hours a week teaching in the classroom, plus my classes, the master's degree classes. So that's part of the reality for many teachers here in Mexico, and perhaps also in all around Latin America, right? Because of the low salaries.
Thank you so much, Marco. Is there any other question or comment here in the audience? Roxy, Arturo, David, Lisette, Consuelo, Enzo, Macruz, Maria Elba, Zambrano in Bolivia, hello. Irma in Ecuador, Vanessa Garcia, Maria Teresa, Serán, anybody? Carlos Camacho Arias, please briefly.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I am from Peru, and I am really happy that you can give us some information about the reality of Mexico. The reality is something similar to Peru. Well, I live in Peru, and also here in Peru, we have only 2 hours in national school. And also have listened that in Mexico, they have only 3 hours, no? And also for our teachers here, in general, teachers, we need to do many things. For example, I work in 2 schools. I work in a national school, and also I work in another school. This is the only way that we can improve as an English teacher. We need to earn some money because we have family. And also, if you are single, maybe you can do, or you can improve your English.
Oops, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah, we lost him.
Okay. Okay, we have time for just one more brief comment or question. Anybody?
Could I say something?
Yes, after Mirna, please, dear Arturo.
Okay, sure.
Mirna, go on.
Okay, well, good morning to all of you. I have had the opportunity, and I've been an English teacher for 43 years here in Mexico, okay? And I've been in different fields, public and private schools, and it's reality. That is the reality. But I think one of the main concerns that we can mention right now is that we teachers, we are really motivated to work, okay? We do it because we love it. Therefore, we overcome everything. We overcome the incomes, the hours, the stress, everything. So I think also one of the little things that I have encountered is responsibility of the teachers. Right now, here in the public and the private sector, we're having also problems with attendance, responsibility, commitment to be an English teacher. That's something we need, more commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear Mirna. No, back to you, dear Arturo.
Yeah, I only have a little comment. Good morning to everybody. I just wrote this. I was going to say that based on my modest opinion or experience, I have always believed that what we need are strong teacher associations. Okay, institutions that not only offer us teacher training seminars or workshops or conventions once a year. We need institutions that could represent us in front of the Ministry of Education, in front of Congress, institutions that could set a minimum fee or a minimum wage per hour for us teachers. And but be careful, I'm not talking about the typical union of teachers fighting for political reasons. That's not the idea at all. The idea is to say, okay, because the problem is they always say, yeah, but who represents the English teachers? And I just turn around and I never find anybody. At least in Peru, nobody reaches that level. I've been working a lot with the Lima Chamber of Commerce here, and I've seen how they fight. The government comes to the chamber and asks for opinion. And that's what we have to do. We have to get together, and together we are unbeatable. I think that's my modest opinion. Yep.
Thank you so much, Sir Arthur. Now we are going, we are going to start the question number 3. The question number 3, I guess, is just for one or you two here, the 4 speakers. Where can you become a licenciado, not master, not PhD, in lengua inglesa in Mexico? And what are the requirements to graduate? So, who is going to speak?
Most universities have now programs, BA programs to become English teachers. all over the country. There are many, many universities. What are the requirements? Well, as you become a graduate of a university, you need to fulfill all those requirements, such as social service and practicum, and BA programs in Mexico are about 4 years, 4 years and a half. And so it takes about 5 years and a half to get a degree in a BA degree in English teaching. If somebody wants to add something.
Yeah, do you need FCE, CAE, CPE? Do you need previous knowledge before starting to study your major?
In some universities, they ask you for a level. We used to have A2 as a requirement to start, but now after the pandemic, we don't have it now. But at the end of the major, at the end of the program, they need to reach B1 level, B2 level when they're going to be English teachers, and A1 in another language.
By the way, here in Peru, our government, they said that because of the pandemic, the students didn't need to pass, for example, the FC exam, or what was the other? They didn't have to do the professional practice. Am I right, Arturo? So in the universities, they do not have to do that. They didn't have to do it for the last 2 years, and it was, from my point of view, something wrong.
Big mistake, yes.
Yeah,
Big
the same
mistake.
thing happening in Mexico.
No, students were doing their practicum online.
Yeah, great. Anybody else, Gabriela, Gabi, or
Yes.
to say something about?
Can I complement what Araceli said?
Okay, Marco.
Yes. Here I have a list of universities where students may want to study a BA program, and in many different states, places here in Mexico and around the Mexican Republic, different universities, Universidad de Aguascalientes, Universidad de Chiapas, Ciudad Juárez, Universidad de Ciudad Juárez, Universidad de Colima, Durango, Guanajuato, Guerrero, in many universities here in Puebla. Students can study a program. They may have different names, like, for example, licenciatura en enseñanza del inglés, licenciatura en enseñanza de lenguas, licenciatura en pedagogía del inglés como segunda lengua, licenciatura en docencia de lengua inglesa, etc. But most of them have the main purpose, the main objective of educating English language teachers, right? Here in Puebla, for example, also we have several institutions, private, in this case, institutions, where where students can study a similar program, right? Specifically in our program, because as Araceli mentioned, we are teacher educators. We work in the BA program in English language teaching. We require that students can when they finish, some students write a document, a thesis document. Some other students graduate and can obtain their final diploma only with how do you say that? Just an administrative process if they never failed a course. The ones who failed a course or several courses, they are the ones who have to write a thesis document, right? But I mentioned this because also there are other requirements depending on how they will be able to obtain their final diploma, título, we call that here, right? If they can graduate with just the administrative process because they never failed a course, they had to certificate a BA2 level of English. But if students obtain their título by writing and defending a thesis document, that certification of English is not necessary. That's part of the requirements that are stated for this program, right? And also there are now two more possible processes for students to receive that final diploma through professional practice, right? And also something that will be implemented very soon by writing a research article or a chapter from, for a book. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, dear Marco. Before you, now we have Gabi Osornio.
Yes, well, I would like to add just to what Araceli and Marco have already mentioned. Yes, there are many institutions now where you can study either to be a teacher or a user of the language. However, and this is my perception, we are not being consistent with what we ask in the practice in the classroom and what we teach in these programs. Yes, because we're asking great pronunciation, we're asking great knowledge, and yet we, as Marco mentioned, there are institutions that are not requiring research from their students, that are not requiring a great English level, you know, like proficient knowledge of the language. So I think that if we are going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk, and we need to prepare those licenciados, those BA students to be the top, you know, because sometimes they graduate and there was this TikTok trend that was like, oh, I graduated from this degree and I don't even know how to do this, you know, and it was something like, I graduated as a nurse, for example, and I don't even know how to, I don't know, how to change a catheter or something like that, you know. And it happens with English teachers. Like I graduated the BA and I have grammar mistakes, like really basic grammar mistakes, or I graduated the BA and I don't even know what a micro teaching is, or I don't do research. I don't know how to do research. So I think all of these programs really need to be looked at, because sometimes we're sending teachers to be, I don't know, graduates, but the easy way out, you know? So that's not what we want in the classroom. That's not how we can fight for having better opportunities if we ourselves cannot be like professionals in that sense.
Thank you, Gabi. And before Gabriela speaks and says something, I remember what I wanted to say. Here in my university, for example, the students have to pay like $200 a month. What about the universities where you work? How much do students about the standard have to pay? I'm talking about private universities.
Well, let me tell you that I work in a public university and it's completely free. I mean, free.
Okay.
Zero.
Okay.
No
and
fee.
What about a private university? Do you have any idea how much students have to pay?
It depends. It goes from $200
to up to
let me think, maybe Universidad de las Américas. It would be like $700 a month, more or less.
Okay. Much more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. And something else, I'm really excited and happy about the big number of universities that offer the BA program. Wow, here in Peru, we will only have maybe 5 or 6, Arturo feel. I don't know, but not that many. I'm
Not
really
that
surprised.
many.
Yeah,
not that many. Because it's an expensive program for the universities to run. And that's why, and they say they don't have the number of students they need to run it.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Sid Arthur, for okay, Gabriela Ladrón, you were going to say something about question number 3.
Well, I wanted to read Arturo's idea that for him, the problem starts when you want to study to be a teacher of English and your level of English at the beginning of the career is 0 or near 0. We will be the models for our students. Our entrance level for the career should be minimum FCE level. Well, let me tell you that in some programs, I know about a program in a private university in Chiapas.
Okay.
I'm saying the name, that they are not asking for an English level, but I know that in public universities, yes, there's an entrance level in which you need to reach a minimum of A2 in order to be part of the teaching English program. And also it happens with other language. For example, I studied to be a French teacher at Universidad Bélgica Nacional, and entrance level was A2. So it was a public university in Mexico, and yes, they have an entrance level. I know about private universities in which they are not having that as an entry requirement, but it's part of the graduation requirements to prove their English level. So it means it is very difficult for students to have their classes in English if they don't have the level. But yes, they do have the graduation requirement.
I think Jaime, only a second. I think that should be in some way be put as a minimum entrance, because 3 years or 5 years is not enough for teachers to master the language. And I don't say this because I just imagine it. I have run an institute for more than 30 years now. And sometimes teachers wanted to take a practical instructor de inglés program with us, and sometimes the level was very low, and they say, yeah, but I have a lot of years teaching. I said, yeah, but the minimum requirement here is, in the old TEFL was minimum 500 to 550 points. If you don't have it, get prepared, review a little bit, and then you come back with us, because our course only lasted 9 months. So they are going to be the models in front of the class. So if their English is not good, that's my modest opinion. I know there are many other opinions in that sense. No, I agree. I am very open to ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I also
Araceli.
Yeah, I also think that this is also part of the lack of opportunities that I was mentioning. If students, if English is so expensive, how are they going to reach a level before they start the university? Then they are going to be, they are not going to be accepted. So if we want all students to have the same opportunities, then that is not fair. I'm thinking of fairness, right? But I agree that there should be a minimum, but it's so difficult.
Araceli, I agree with that the only thing I would say is that sometimes the 3 years or 5 years and the number of courses that these institutions offer the teachers is not enough, or it's not demanding. So they never reach the label that we need. That's the only thing I think, because I'm not trying to limit the entrance. I'm just saying, is it enough? That's all I say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yes, but I mean, just fair or not fair.
I think Arturo, we need to go to Mexico and have a face-to-face round table over there and talk about it. And finally, dear Mirta, so we can go to the question number 4. Mirta. Your microphone, Mirna.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you, I'm working in una escuela normal superior here in Ciudad Obregón in the state of Sonora, okay? So we are the border with Arizona, therefore, we do have a requirement for escuelas normales, okay? We only have 2 that handle the BA in English language teaching is here in Obregón and also in Hermosillo. And we do have a requirement of B1 minimum. We have fluent, very fluent students, okay, novice teachers. And but now the big problem is going to be all around Mexico because, as you mentioned, there is no requirement in the other escuelas normales in the whole state, in the whole country, okay? And they can go into the BA without any knowledge of the language, and it's going to be impossible that in 4 years they acquire the language. Impossible, impossible. And now with the new program, the nuevo marco curricular, the one, we have a new program in escuelas normales and also in public schools. And they are having 50% of the curriculum in escuelas normales is going to be autonomous, depending of each state. So like if I decide in Chiapas not to teach a word of English, I can do it. I can do all my subject can be in Spanish, even though they are related to the disciplinary, you know. Yeah,
Wow.
it's going to be, it is amazing. It is very, with the autonomous, with the decision that you can decide on the content. So it is very important that we are committed, as you mentioned, in becoming better, not worse. So it's difficult. Right now, I'm immersed into the development of the new program, and my goodness, I'm very surprised because my education does not allow me to be that flexible.
Thank you so much, dear Mirna. Now let's go to the last question, and then we will have some time for reflection so everybody can talk. Well, not everybody, but some of us. The last question is, maybe can be answered by one or two of you. What are the English Teachers Association that exist in Mexico now, and how productive you would say they are? Anybody who wants to say something about it?
Well, okay, go Gabriela and then I'll.
Yes. Well, right now I think the two main English teachers associations are MEXTESOL and NUP. Talking about the production of that, well, MEXTESOL right now is much more oriented to let's say, tips for teachers. Even though the MEXTESOL Journal has a good, it is a good point of research and investigation and a good reference. On the other hand, the NUP is more directed to professors, and it has that research point as a plus. Well, it depends on what you want. You want something more practical? Well, MEXTESOL Convention could be a very good way of having some practical ideas to use in your classroom. I am thinking about a very famous writer, textbook writer in Mexico that has sessions in MEXTESOL full of teachers, and they are dancing and having fun, and well, and they love that because for them that's, well, he's a guru, and
Yes.
they love that. I'm not saying names, Araceli, before you say anything, because your face is really crystal clear.
But I know, but I know who you're talking about.
And the teachers really have those songs and use them in their classroom, and they repeat the songs, and they are like very famous in that environment. On the other hand, the NUP is more directed to research. Even though we have more congresses, I think those two associations are, well, the main associations, and we have very good congresses for public universities in Mexico. I think public universities are working a lot on that. For example, WAP in Puebla, where Araceli and Marco are working. Also, UCRO, Universidad de Quintana Roo, they're having strong congresses. But private universities like Universidad de Guadalajara, FID, they also have a strong congress. And well, now we have another advantage that, well, thanks to this virtuality, we are interacting with teachers and congresses, and we are having seminars for some events like this one with professors and teachers from other countries, so we have different change. We have different ideas and panoramas. That's very important. But something important, if you are a university researcher and you say you're part of a group of teachers, well, that's not relevant. It's like, well, good for you. You go to the Congress? Oh, excellent. Well, you have another document for your CV, but well, it's not that relevant, or we don't have that importance in terms of being part of an association.
Yeah.
At least in practical terms. If you want to talk about lobbying, and you want to talk about networking, and you want to talk about other things, well, that's different. For example, thanks to MEXTESOL, I had the opportunity to meet Araceli Salas face to face, and for me it was like wonderful. And after that, we have been working because of WAP, for example, and Lenguaen Contexto. So, well, it's a good opportunity, and it depends on your objectives. And because of ANUPI, I had the opportunity to meet Jaime and Kahima. So it depends on your objectives, your professional development, and well, also your personality. Why not saying that?
Definitely, definitely, dear Gabriela Ladrón de Guevara. Thanks to ANUPI, I met you. Thank you. Okay, Araceli.
I think Abby wanted to say something.
Yes, well, just in the productivity point here, the productivity issue, I agree with Arturo Field mentioning that it's once a year. These events are once a year. And unfortunately, in a teacher's salary, most of the times they are not available to the teachers who really need it, you know, because maybe researchers, maybe teachers who have already a tenure position can attend these events, but a teacher in a real teacher's salary with no tenure, it's really, they are really not that affordable. So they are not getting to the people who need them the most, right? That's my point of view. That being said, there are also, as Gabriela mentioned, for example, here in Guanajuato, there are institutions that are addressing this issue and that are doing more seminars that are free of cost. But again, teachers sometimes struggle to attend because of the administrative requirements that those have, like you don't get the permissions to go. You need to be absent, and that is simply not possible. Or you don't have the time, you know, because you have to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and you don't have the time to attend to these sessions or to these congresses. So there are very limited opportunities, and the ones that are let's say more recognized are expensive. The ones that are more affordable, sometimes teachers may not have the support to attend to these professional development opportunities, such as this MEXTESOL or even the free ones that are done.
Like this one.
Yeah,
exactly, like this one. I mean, you will have to, like we said, commit perhaps your Sunday morning, right?
Yes.
So
thank you so much, Gabi. Now back to you, Araceli.
Yes, well, I think that associations now have a very difficult time because of all these opportunities. For example, if I used to go to TESOL International, and I want to go to TESOL next year, but I am going to spend a big part of my Christmas bonus if I want to go there. Yes, I have the permission from my university, but I have to pay most of it because, as you were saying, it's not just the permission; it's everything everything that involves going there. Regarding the opportunities, yes, associations give teachers the opportunity to network, to get in touch, to make nice relationships. But sometimes they do not address our specific academic needs. Yes, I agree that I have not been to ANUPI. So Gabriela, you should invite me. But I have never been to ANUPI. I used to be involved in the MEXTESOL Conference Association. Now I am involved, but just in the journal. And we are covering that part of research. Yes, but yes, definitely. Right now it's a difficult time for associations having this. I might say this competition of free webinars and good quality webinars around the world. There are many events which are free, but you don't have the opportunity to network, to see people, to hug people, to talk to them. Yes, I think that is a difficult time for associations. But I like the idea of associations. And I also agree with Arturo that associations should aim for bigger goals, not only the professional development, just the networking, but going for something bigger in benefit of all members and all English teachers. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, dear Araceli. And finally, last but not least, Marco Antonio. Mark Anthony.
Thank you. Well, I think my colleagues have said a lot about MEXTESOL and ANUPI, but I would like to comment on something related to this, but a little bit different. I think it was Ladrón de Guevara, who said that, or Araceli, I don't remember, sorry, that also different institutions have their conferences, right? And those events are very academic also, right? But I would like to comment on a probable difference. I cannot say this happens to all of the institutions, but a probable difference between private institutions and public or government institutions preparing and offering their conferences, because I have the experience of attending this kind of congress from a private institution. And I observed that the conferences the presentations from the speakers were not really quality conferences, right? Unfortunately. I hope MEXTESOL, ANUPI, and all universities are doing a good job. I hope so, right? And many other institutions. But it seems to me that the situation becomes, in this case, difficult, especially for private institutions, because private institutions are academic institutions, but they are also business. And they need to collect the necessary money to survive, right? So this is the unfortunate reason, I think, that they sometimes have to implement presentations which are not really quality presentations. However, that's not everything. Recently, I attend this institution, the one I'm talking about, invited me to attend the conferences. And I was very, very glad to attend the conferences because there was especially one of them which was very, very academic. So it seems to me they are business, they need to do those types of things with non-quality presentations, but they also, I am sure and I hope they also try always to do the best of this. That's all.
Yeah, thank you so much, dear Araceli, Marco, Gabriela, and Gabi, for such wonderful pieces of information about the 4 questions. Now we have like 10 minutes to give the chance of people present here in the audience to talk about the description of the reality and challenges of the learning process in Mexico, about the principal challenges of the teachers to become professionals, where can you study licenciatura in English in Mexico, and the English Teachers Associations in Latin America. Okay, who wants to speak? Please, we have Arturo Faisal from Morocco. Thank you, Faisal, for being there. We have Raj, Mirna, David Navarrete, Vanessa Garcia, Lisette Nelly León, Consuelo Acosta, Maria Cruz Garcia, Maria Teresa Terán from Bolivia, GM, Camilo Roman, Miriam, Catherine, Claudia Gabriela, Isabel, Carlos Camacho, and Edgar. Anybody, please, who wants to make a comment briefly, please, or say something?
Hi, teacher.
Hello, Faisal. Is that the way that it is pronounced, Faisal?
Yes, my name is Faisal. I'm from Morocco.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, my teacher. I am very happy when I join with you. I listening. You have more teacher in this group. For me, I like English. My big dream when I can speak English, I was try now maybe 3 years ago, but I study 1 month and stop it 3 months. And now I have the schedule. I want to develop my English. I have some difficult, like when I watching the movie, the actors, they speak fastly. I can't understand what the actors say. I want to repeat this action 3 times for when I can listen how he says. And also I can read in the book. When I read in the book some word I can't understand, I want to translate this in Arabic for can I understand. That's it. Can you give me some advice, please, how I can develop my English?
Oh, wonderful. Number 1, attending this wonderful Sunday meeting. That's the first way. Second one, some people can give you some pieces of advice. Anybody who wants to give some pieces of advice to our new friend Faisal from Morocco? Any other strategies before Roxana Tenorio speaks? Anyone?
Sure.
We're okay.
Sure.
Sorry, Araceli?
No, I mean, probably this is not the right audience. Being English teachers, we are going to tell you go to classes, take some classes. Well,
I think that thanks to YouTube and internet, you have lots of applications, lots of web pages to practice and listen. But one of the best, dear Faisal, is get involved in these groups where you can listen to different accents. For example, our accent is Latin American 100% or 90 or 80, but we are Latins, or Raj has her Canadian accent. So that will help you a lot because that is authentic and real English. So next Sunday, if you join us, we will have a teacher from the United States. In 2 Sundays, we will have teacher from Argentina and so on, and that will help you to develop your listening and speaking if you want to participate, okay? Anybody else who has a comment or something to ask? No?
I think
okay.
Roxy had her hand up.
Sorry, Roxy Tenorio in Lima, Peru.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be back to our meetings. I miss them a lot, but some reasons, strong reasons, put me apart from this. And I want to say to these guys from all Mexico that welcome to the Latin problems. We are all in the same environment and in all the same situations. But this put me into what can Roxana do from her corner? There are a lot of situations, there are a lot of problems, a lot of things, but I think in my personal case, I never thought to become a teacher to have good salaries. Definitely not. It's because I like it. It's because I want it. And I like what Gabriela and Gabi said about the mindset. Very, very important. take it for granted, very important. And if we think about that extrinsic motivation, I wouldn't continue being a teacher. All my part of being a teacher and continue working is my intrinsic motivation. What makes me be here? What makes me be part of that? Lack of opportunities, don't agree at all. Probably, I would say, we haven't looked for the correct corner. We haven't looked for the correct opportunity. There are hundreds of opportunities. Now, due to the pandemic situation, a lot more than before. I'm attending seminars and workshops weekly, more than I used to do before. And as Marco Antonio said, some of them are good, some are not that good, but it's a way of learning. It's a way I am a senior teacher, long ago started teaching, and I'm looking for something better. But sometimes I find, okay, this refreshes my memory. This makes me think, no, shouldn't be this way, should be that way. And there are a lot of things that we can think about. Native teachers, yes, that's right. I had the opportunity now working for the last 8 years for a language center, private language center, which works with business people. Business people have also the same idea being our clients, saying, I want to have English classes, but only with native speakers. If we have native speakers, yes, we do have, but we do have native speakers who are teachers. That's what we look for. If they are not teachers, okay, we have them for conversation where we mix native and non-native speakers. So then when they have non-native speakers who are really good teachers, say, you're right. Not only native speakers are the good ones. Then when we said, okay, I'm not going to travel, I don't need English, totally wrong. Tell your students, yes, there are a lot of multinational companies in our country, and we need English for that. We need English for culture. We need English for knowing each other. You need English for probably in the future, your wife or your husband will be an American one. So just look for those little details in which we can make motivation for our students, and they will be like that. We create our environment, say, okay, this is what I'm going to do in my class. This is what I'm not going to do it. If we think about what the government is going to do for my classes, I'm lost. This is what Roxana does in her class. What does Roxana do in the moments with the clients, with the students? It's what we can do. I always appreciate Jaime did this. And this is a corner in which we can practice. This is a corner in which we can learn. Faisal, you can welcome to our group, welcome to our team, and then we are going to be listening to each other. Okay, if we will listen, okay, this is the way they have to do. This is not the way that we cannot do it. Okay, there are a lot of things. A professional development, yes, very important. We need to be very, very focused on what we are doing and being very responsible of the great job that we have decided to take. This is the way we have to do it. This is the only way to learn to do it. So thank you for sharing, guys, this situation in Mexico. Really, I got the misconcept. You are the guys from Latin America that speak the English the most. Okay, now this is a reality. This is a reflection I have. And I said, okay, we are more on this situation. So we have to do something more. That's it. Thank you very much for your times, guys.
Oh my God, thank you, dear Roxy. Now I'm speechless.
Yes, I was going to say that.
The wrap up that I was going to make is not, I don't need to say anything else.
It's because I've been away apart from the team for a long time, and I had a lot of things that I wanted to share. Say, no, yeah, I need to get back. I need to be back.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being
October, the miracle month.
Thank you for being back, dear Roxy, and I agree with you 100%. And that's exactly what I wanted to say. I never thought about salary when becoming an English teacher. I have to thank this beautiful, wonderful, rewarding, incredible, marvelous, awesome, superb, interesting, and everything else profession. It depends on us. You have talked about discrimination. Yes, I've been discriminated many times, but because of traveling, because of learning, because of meeting wonderful people like you, I stopped thinking about that and I don't care about that anymore. You've talked about job insecurity, that native speakers teach better and speak perfectly. No, they don't, because I am from Piura, Roxana, you are from Lima, and our accents and our vocabulary are completely different, and we don't speak perfect Spanish. The same thing happens with Mexicans, Chileans, Bolivians, and etc. About the status and the physical appearance, I would like people to say something about that. And the social recognition, well, I always recognize the great job you ladies, especially ladies, do in Latin America. And yes, do not procrastinate. If we want to be something, let's do it the best way we can do it. And passion and love is the key. Yeah, I guess that you are passionate people. No, I don't guess. You are passionate people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So I would like people to say something before we listen to the final words today of our 4 guest speakers. Arturo, Phil.
Yeah, I won't talk much. I would only say, let's change the word discrimination for self-esteem. That's all.
Okay.
Because we have to work on our self-esteem. That's what I really think of.
Thank you, Sir Arthur Field. Anybody else, please, who wants to say something or make a comment? Yeah, Gabi. So let's go to the final words today, I guess, because people are in shock after listening to Roxana Tenorio. Everyone is reflecting.
Everyone is reflecting, precisely. Well, I would just like to say that I think, like Roxana mentions, most of us are here because we love what we do, right? So these are realities, like I mentioned in the beginning, these are realities all across our country and all across Latin America. But in the end, yes, it is up to us to make those decisions, because in the end, those are decisions. Whether or not you are going to become a better teacher, whether or not you are going to attend this PD webinar or this PD seminar or this Congress, regardless of your situation, regardless of your current status, whether or not you're going to be a good teacher, regardless of your appearance, if you are, I don't know, blue-eyed or not, right? So this is the kind of decisions that we need to be making. If you're going to stay in the profession, it's because you really want to be here. So you better get ready for it. You better prepare yourself. If you need to take a course, then go ahead and take it. And don't blame, this is not blaming the government or the institutions. It's just pointing it out because it could be better, right? But in the end, as you guys mentioned, it is on us. It is our decision making, right? So we need to be the best. If we are English teachers, or if we are engineers, or if we are anything, we need to try to do our best. That will be despite the circumstances. Right?
Thank you so much, dear Gabi. Now, Marco, your final message to the audience and to the future generations.
Yes, thank you. Well, I would like to comment on Arturo's comment regarding the minimum level that should be required for students who want to become English teachers and enter this type of programs. If it were me who had the decision, I would do that, what he said, right? I definitely believe that it would be necessary to require a high level of English to students who want to become English teachers, because of many factors, many reasons, not only because of the fact that they will be teaching English, but also because there is a lot of literature, a lot of books and articles in English, and although we want to teach the classes, or we teach the classes in English in our program in the second year, third year, fourth year of the program, I realize that when I present an extract, a paragraph from those books or articles to my students, they do not understand what it means, right? Because the requirement is not, the English requirement for them is not that high in our program, right? Let me tell you an anecdote which happened 20 years ago. In 2002, I also was the coordinator of this program. It had a different name, right? But 20 years ago, I also was the coordinator, and we used to have to work in downtown Puebla, right? And that old building in downtown Puebla. In that year, we moved to the present building that we have for the Faculty of Languages and the program, the language teaching program. And this building is compared to that old building, it is a very large building, right? We have a lot of classrooms, we have a lot of space, etc., etc. Well, at that moment, for that year, we told the university authorities that we would be able to accept 360, more or less, 360 students to the English language teaching program, right? But without telling us anything, the authorities sent 510 or 520 students. I mean, 200 more students. What was the reason? Because we had a new building, a very large building, right? At that time, we were able to accept that more or less 360 students probably. And according to the situation that we already knew regarding their level of English, well, they were beginners, but when those 500 and something students were accepted, many students had probably a 0 level of English. I mean, they were not even beginners, but they had a much lower level, and we had to make a lot of adjustments and many things. So what is the point here? If it were our decision, well, I think we would do what Arturo said, but unfortunately, those are sometimes political decisions, sometimes university authorities' decisions, that we have to accept that kind of students with that low level. Very quickly, at the moment we have, in the present program, we have a requirement that students enter the program with an A2 level. In 2019, sorry, we implemented the requirement, and we accepted only, we accepted only 360, 380 students. We had enough space for 400 and something students, but we had to accept only 300 and something students because they didn't have the A2 level, and still we have to lower our level because a lot of students did not have that requirement A2. And it politically, probably for the authorities, it would have not been possible to accept, for example, probably 150 students, right? Because the authorities always want to demonstrate that the university can do more with the same money and teachers, right? So that's my comment.
Thank you so much, dear Marco. Now, Gabriela León, your final message to the audience and to the next generations of teachers.
We have discovered during these difficult months for the for the world. This pandemic situation, this isolation, the virtual life that we are living right now, and the hybrid life, we have discovered that the ones who maintain our societies together, working and, let's say, sane, are health workers and education workers. So this is something that we have discovered, and now we have to think about that. We can live without politicians, we can live without, let's say, people making decisions in higher levels, but not without teachers, not without doctors.
Yeah.
Now, without the people that are really producing intellectually. And of course, I'm not saying that the farmers and people working in services, they are not important, but talking about keeping our societies together, health workers and education. So remember that being an educator is not easy. We need, of course, a lot of preparation, continuous development, and also we are part of a world that is changing, and we are changing our own processes. So the majority of people I know being in this profession is because we love it. And
Yes.
it is not easy. It is a huge challenge. And well, if we are here, it's because we love it, and we are trying to make the best of it, not only for us, but for the people around us. Just remember that. And well, we are important. We are important in our society, even though we are not mentioned so commonly. We are important. Just remember that. I'm not talking only about English teachers, but all people working in education.
Mm-hmm.
We are not as important as they say for politicians, because they tend to cut the education budget. But if we really look around, we know that education is very important in our societies. And I'm not talking just about Latin America. I'm talking about the world. Just remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Gabriela, for such deep reflection. Thank you so much, dear Gabriela. And finally, last but not least, Araceli Salas Serrano, your final message to the audience.
Well, this has been a very, very nice opportunity to talk about the situation in Mexico. And if we talk about the situation in Mexico, it's not because we're complaining or because we don't value our profession. It's just the opposite. It's because we care about the people who are coming. There's nothing wrong in telling what is going on. It's because we want them to be better, to have better conditions. If we are speaking out loud, it's because we want them to have a better condition, better situation in the profession. So yes, I think we can do much together. Yes, let's go for it, Arturo.
Thank you so much. And the last message of our president, dear Raj, a few words, please, to your town, to your city, to your population, to the citizens of this international online association.
Yeah, Jaime, thank you for that. I think listening to all the teachers, I'm so grateful that you're sharing your experiences. And I think, Gabriela, as you were saying, it's important that we remember we just came out of the COVID, you know, and so much has happened in the teaching world as a result of COVID. You adapted and you innovated all at the same time. So a lot of that has happened. And I think that I admire teachers who are so committed to their profession that they would work at the salary that you people mentioned today, and also wanting to make sure that we look at solutions. And I think Arturo was proposing some solutions, that we look at how can we gather together to create some solutions and be the force for the change. And it's Thanksgiving weekend in Canada. I give thanks for our group and for this community that I'm part of, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much,
Thank
dear
you.
Raj. And thank you, Gabriela, Araceli, Marco, and Gabi, and everyone else who has been here present. And see you next Sunday, dear Faisal and everyone else. Remember that next Sunday we'll have our good friend, Debra Suarez. She will be talking about what's love got to do with, remember? What's love got to do with it? The role of shared values and mutual purpose in creating educational change. Believe it or not, is connected with what we have been talking today. So thank you, have a nice Sunday, and see you next Sunday. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Bye,
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye,
Thank you,
goodbye.
Jaime.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.